Is this 1 gallon aquarium too small for a betta fish? It might very well be, but there's something else to consider here. We're going to talk all about it, and we are going to be making a new tank for our betta fish Red. I recently got 2 betta fish from KG Tropicals. KeepFishKeeping.com is the website if you guys want to check it out. They have a ton of really cool bettas and other stuff on there. So we got our boy Red over there, and then we got this dude over here. I never really came up with a name for this fish, and then I remembered once upon a time, very, very long ago, MD Fish Tanks and me were going to name fish after each other, and I just didn't do it because I wasn't going to get a betta fish for a while, and then I just kind of forgot. So MD, if you're watching this, this is MD the betta fish. Anyway, enough of that man crush. Red was never meant to be in this little aquarium for so long. I think it's been probably a month since we got him. We were always going to be setting up another aquarium. I was hoping to have another 6-gallon water box or something close to that because I really like these tanks. I think they're perfect for a betta fish. But unfortunately, we don't have any extras laying around, but I do have this older aquarium, this other rimless tank. I don't know what brand this is. I've had it for forever. It's been a lot of different aquariums. If you guys are looking for a really awesome betta tank, check out Waterbox. There's a link in the description. We'll go ahead and use this thing for today's build because it's pretty close to the same size. I think this is probably 4 or 5 gallons, and it's exactly what we need for this new home. I think Red's going to appreciate having a little bit more water volume. This thing I think only holds about 1 gallon of water. It might look a lot bigger on camera, but this thing is pretty tiny. And we obviously don't have it filled up all the way, so that obviously reduces it. He's a super tiny fish. He's probably half the size of my pinky, so it does appear that this might be an okay habitat for him, and I'm not entirely convinced that this is bad for him. I'll let you guys be the judge though. When betta fish are in the wild, they live in tiny puddles that are connected to a lot larger volume of water, typically. I can't really say for sure, just what I've read about and heard from people that live in certain areas of the world where there are betta fish. I think the biggest concern when it comes to something small like this is the fact that it has a lot higher likelihood of becoming a toxic environment for them. We definitely don't want to keep betta fish in bowls and stuff like that in the traditional sense. So what I mean by that is something that doesn't have a heater or a filter or live plants and just has like pink gravel or, you know, whatever, the multicolored gravel that you see some people have. I think that's a lot of this stigma comes from. Betta fish aren't going to be very comfortable if they have a ton of open swimming room and they don't have a place to go hide out in. They love having dense plants in their tank or bowl or whatever you keep them in, and obviously we want to have as big of a water volume as we can, but if you have something super safe like this, and we'll talk about why this is safe, I'm not sure if this is really that bad of a thing that it only has 1 gallon. Sorry for the glare here, guys. It's a little crazy. It's kind of impossible to prevent, but if we come over here and we look at MD's tank, it's the same kind of setup. It's a no filter, no nothing aquarium. We have a ton of floating plants that make it really dark in here. I apologize for that again. But there obviously is a lot more swimming room for him, but there's still a lot of space where he can go and hide in plants and get some relief. And that's ultimately what I think we want to have for Red. We want to provide a little bit more of a space for him to swim around in, but he does have a pretty big space even though it's only 1 gallon. Despite the fact that this tank doesn't have a filter or anything on it, we've never been able to detect any nitrates in it whatsoever. No nitrogen at all, and I think that's mostly because we have all this lucky bamboo in here. Yes, we do have a lot of pearlweed in here and some banana plants, but you know, the pearlweed isn't actively growing. The banana plants, they don't do a whole lot, and so they're definitely not the source of nitrogen consumption. On top of the fact of having the lucky bamboo, which is obviously consuming the nitrogen in here, we also have a pretty deep sand bed, and we know that when we have a deep sand bed, we get a lot of denitrification, which is the conversion of nitrate to nitrogen gas. This is an anaerobic process that requires no oxygen to be around, and it's a pretty slow process. So it's something that takes a long time to happen in an aquarium. You can't just fill it up with several inches of sand and then have it happen overnight. It takes a long time to get going, and certainly probably takes even longer before it can contribute enough to that nitrate reduction that you might see. So those are the reasons why I think overall this isn't a horrible environment for this fish, but we would like Red to have a little bit more water volume, so that's why we're going to get him into a slightly bigger tank. And there you have it, guys. The tank is complete. So, I mean, it's not the most incredible thing in the world. It's pretty simple on the inside. We threw in some Monte Carlo just kind of to see how that'll do. My experience with Monte Carlo is that, for me at least, in my water conditions, I pretty much need CO2, but I know not everybody's that way. Got a pretty decently deep sand bed, so that's at least 1.5 inches in the front. And then as you can see, as we go back, it turns into like 3.5 inches. The water level here is reduced, mostly because the Lucky Bamboo wasn't tall enough. We want to have all of that leaf area where it comes out into leaves. We want that to be exposed above water. That seems to be an important part of having successful bamboo. Another important aspect of making this thing function really well without a filter is having some floating plants. So we got the Sylvinia mixed in with a little bit of duckweed, not a lot. I'm sure it'll eventually pretty much take over this entire thing at some point. We'll be scooping this stuff out, but it's looking like a pretty good balance. Not sure how well this super red Liguigi is going to do. It seems to like CO2 a lot. Probably won't do too much more than what you see here, grow up to the top and then stop and then not really do a lot, but that's okay because we're not relying on it to really do that much. And you know, we had to get a little whimsical and put in some banana plants. They're just kind of fun. They don't really help the scape look any particular way that I want. This is kind of honestly slapped together, but that's okay. I still think that it accomplishes what I want to accomplish. The only thing that I really wish we would have had was a bunch of crypts. I think setting up a tank like this and just having like a crypt foreground forest in the front, a carpet of it, would have looked really cool. So we'll have to do that on another one. I like these styles. I like the bamboo plants. I think it's really cool. It's not only functional, but the aesthetic is also really cool. There's not a whole lot else we need to do to this aquarium to make it safe for red. We could probably put him in right now and there would be no issues, but I think I am going to wait a couple days, just let the roots of the bamboo get situated. There's no harm in waiting, so we'll just do that. And we don't need to add any bacteria to this thing. It should be pretty good to go. We're relying on the plants, but this thing is right next to the Fritz fridge, so I think we're just going to add in a little bit of turbo start since it's right next door. This will just help us sleep a little bit better at night, knowing that we put something in it, we seeded it. Because this tank is completely brand new, the substrate, all of the plants pretty much came from aquariums that weren't established, or even in an aquarium in the case of the bamboo. I think it's never a bad idea, even just to seed an aquarium like this with good nitrifying bacteria. Since we don't have any filter media, we can't even do like a media filter slap on some existing stuff to transfer bacteria. So we pour a little bit in, they're going to go around, get into the substrate, start to grow on the plants. One way that we can keep them going if we're not putting a fish in right away is add a little bit of liquid ammonium chloride if we have it, or you can simply just add a pinch of fish food in here and that should be enough fuel to keep them alive for a while. The last thing we need to do to this tank, guys, is figure out some kind of a light source. I know it looks really good right now, but if I turn off the ring light that is behind me, if I can find this button, there we go. So that's what it looks like. We obviously need to do something else. It would be perfect if we could just hang something from here, which would be easy because it's all set up. We obviously don't have any drywall up above, but I don't really want to do that. I think instead what we're going to do is just come down here and grab this ONF Flat Nano. There we go. Okay, so that looks a heck of a lot better. We got some light. Guys, it's kind of tough here, obviously, with the bamboo poking up. I don't think this is going to be too bright, like to the point where we're burning any of the leaves, but we'll have to just kind of check this out and see how things go. I had to adjust a few things, get it back on its normal cycle. There's the appropriate brightness. That is looking super bright, but I think that's what this is going to take. You know, once our floating plants grow out, that's going to obviously shade the tank a lot, and we want to make sure there's plenty of light down there, of course. So I'm pretty happy with the scape. I think it definitely could be better, but we were limited on our plant selection, and I think we did an okay job. So we'll just kind of take it as it goes. As we get some new plants in, maybe we'll change things up, and we'll get ready to add red to this tank, and we'll probably make that another episode of this saga, okay? While I was editing, I realized I should throw this in here, guys. For those of you that have been wondering this whole time, what about a heater? We don't need one. We keep the basement down here at about 75 degrees. So pretty much all the aquariums down here, with the exception of this one, do not have a heater. They don't need to because we keep it, again, at that 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So that should be just fine for the betas. All my betas have been at that temperature and they do just fine. I know they like it a little bit warmer, but we're about to hit the summer and it does get a little bit warmer than that down here during that time. So this is a couple days in the future relative to what you've been seeing, so we put some nerite snails in here just to help continue the nitrogen cycle in here. They're going to produce some waste and help those bacteria stabilize out. And they also do make really small compact heaters for volumes of water like this, and even smaller if you want to go that smaller. I think this is probably the smallest you want to go, but that is an option if you're somebody that can't, you know, it's not realistic to heat your whole house just for your one fish tank. One more thing I forgot to add, guys. This thing ended up being around 2.5 gallons. I'm not sure if I put that in text on the video earlier, but just wanted to make sure we mentioned that. So we're going from 1 gallon to 2.5 gallons. Not a giant increase, but certainly I think when we do put Red in here, he's going to notice the improvement. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed setting up this new little cool bamboo tank. And don't worry, in the next video, I won't have this ridiculous mustache, all right? So don't forget to check out the Sticker Magnet Cling store. We got a bunch of new designs in there, and you should be seeing a code here on the screen. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.